Fellas, you know Degree Cool Rush deodorant, right? Well, last year they changed the formula, and guys were mad about it. One dude even started a petition. So guess what? Degree heard us, admitted they messed up, and brought the original Cool Rush scent back exactly how it was. And it's in Walmart, Target, and other stores now for under $4. So grab some and remember why its cool, crisp, and fresh scent made it the #1 men's antiperspirant for the last decade. Degree Cool Rush is back, and it smells like victory for all of us.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. I'm Mike, and I'm here with Mr. Bogan. How are you today?
What's happening, man? All things considered, I am doing all right. Thanks once again for having me. I'm super ready to jump into another thrilling convo tonight.
I know it seems like we're both a little tired, but I think it's like life fatigue at the moment. Just about everything's making me tired as of late.
Legit.
But I gotta tell you this, and I don't remember if I'm sure I sent it to you because it was so funny. I've worked in a lot of corporate environments, but this week I'm working, and all of a sudden I get an alert at work, a chime over the PA that we've never heard before, and it said, "Congratulations on experiencing your first hour or your hour of kindness in this company. Our goal is we only succeed when we work together. So over the last hour, directors have been walking around from desk to desk saying nice things to people. Thank you again, and I hope you enjoyed your hour of kindness."
Awesome.
That prompts more questions than it answers. Okay, because first of all, no one knew it was happening. They alerted us at the end of it to tell us that they had just been nice. No one came to us.
Right.
No one walked around and said nice things like, "Hey, nice shoes." But even if someone did, I would have reflected on that like, that was forced kindness. That person had to walk around to say something nice to me.
Yep. I think they might be somewhat aware that, people are not okay with the state of the nation or just life in general. So, that feels like a crisis management move if I've ever heard of one.
Oh my goodness, it was interesting. You want to thank them for the attempt, or we can just change the culture to being kind.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that option. Not an hour. I don't know what the next hour was supposed to be, but it wasn't going to be kindness.
Yeah. Corporations are hilarious.
Sometimes it's just not quite sure where they're getting some of these things from. But hey, you know what? It could be worse.
Right.
There's a lot of other things that could happen in an hour other than someone forced to be nice to you.
That's true. That's true.
But I got to tell you, in all my years, that would be the very first time that I have ever experienced an hour of kindness.
Well, I'm pretty sure you'll also get a survey about your feelings about it, so make it known.
Right. I mean, we can't do something like this without getting some kudos back, showing that we're doing the right thing.
Of course.
I'm not sure I can add enough sarcasm to this part of this conversation. Yeah. Is that me, or does everything seem just disconnected from reality right now?
Yeah, and you know what? I think it will be for the foreseeable future, just because everybody's still trying to find their way in a way. Like things didn't go your way for your team, or maybe it did go your way for your team, and then the benefits you thought you were going to reap aren't necessarily there, or maybe somebody that's close to you or whatever is feeling the effects of things right now. So I think everybody is kind of scrambling to pick up the pieces and trying their best to be to be helpful or to serve or to provide service in some kind of way.
Well, and I've got a couple other really quick updates before we start. Number one, the internet in Durand. We've talked about this now for a period of time. Good chunk of it was us talking about the city doing it. It has been kind of given to us to complete. We have gotten all of the contracts in place, the financing in place. Looks like we will start putting hardware in April.
Nice.
With soft testing and soft open in May. And by the time we have our first concert in the streets in Durand, which is, I think, May 28th, somewhere around the end of May, we will have free Wi-Fi for the community.
And that is awesome.
I mean, Daystar Communications, thank you. Just if anybody's in this area, check them out. They are fiber optic in this region. They have donated their bandwidth to us where zero cost. The only cost that we have is the hardware. And then, of course, the licensing and maintenance because of the firewalls and all the things that it requires to be legal. But it's just amazing, just absolutely amazing. The people who've worked on this, Candace and Blair and the people in town, have put so much effort. But looks like this year it's going to pay off. The downtown space will have free internet for anyone.
Which I'm pretty sure will be tremendously helpful, especially on the sense if, there are any families that may need access to the internet and can't specifically afford it or anything, or even if, you're just kind of working in that area and you need a connection. That's super cool to hear. That's one of those infrastructure things that doesn't get talked about a whole lot, but really should. We should hear more about it.
Everybody in town knows that, like, I leave my internet so everybody can use it here at Dabble. You'll see cars parked up on the side of the building. They're just paying bills or applying for jobs.
Right.
But this system will allow not only for us to communicate with the public very easily on the splash page, but if kids have deactivated cell phones, they have it for 911 purposes, but now they can make phone calls.
Sure.
Their parents can track them on 360.
Yeah, video calls if they need to.
Yep. All that stuff will be functional. The downtown space will be a safer space. You're not going to have to, we have all those rocking chairs up and down. You can sit anywhere and just sit and use your laptop. You'll be able to work from downtown without an issue.
That's awesome. Congrats, man. That's a big step.
Thank you. That one took some effort, but we've got it. And now the other thing I wanted to tell you is I just met with former state representative, I think it's Clark Harder.
Okay.
And Candace from the chamber brought him into Dabble. We started talking about some space in town that isn't utilized. I wanted to turn into an incubator space with containers where people could rent those containers to turn them into personal stores, kind of like what you see in Battle Creek, Michigan.
Okay.
And after, an hour and a half discussion, I think we have the framework of an agreement.
Okay.
I will put together the proposal, and this gentleman who knows everybody because he was a state rep is going to go find the money.
Nice.
So we'll turn it'll be themed because Durand's about trains. We'll theme it in that way. They've got a train car they've turned into a small museum that we can integrate into it. So people there to see the museum pieces will be right there next to all the retail, and people coming in for the retail will learn about the train stuff by default. Okay. So it's a win-win for everybody. We just started the conversation, and apparently I can't go without a project. So as we wrap up the internet, I'll have to start building the business plan for this so that they can take it and go find the money.
Yeah, well, if recent events have taught us anything, it is that you can't really stop moving. You gotta keep the next no violence mentioned here, but you gotta keep the next thing in the chamber. You always got to keep one rolling.
Well, and right now it's going to be hard with grants. Right now it's going to be hard with funding. I know that through the STEM side. Right. And if we have an individual who has these avenues in the hardest time to get them, and we continue to grow when everything else stagnates, that's going to say a lot about our community.
For sure.
So, and then the very last thing I said too, I lied, it's 3. Yesterday, I got to go do another fantastic STEM event with STEMnetics. I should have drug you out there at least for 10 minutes. There was anywhere between 70 and 80 kids. We had 3 or 4 different projects going on rotation, panel. I was part of a panel that spoke. I had a table for 3D printing, teaching kids how to 3D print using microscopes to look at the quality. And we just had a blast. It was an absolutely amazing time. And it's like I have to be at those events. I recharge.
Well, yeah.
I'm tired. I'm getting old, so I'm tired by the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But it makes you so darn happy to sit there and watch everybody build and play and learn, and they all chose to do it. No one made them.
That is what fulfillment feels like, brother.
It's an amazing feeling. So I had a blast yesterday. Made the news and some other stuff. I guess I haven't seen the clips, but we had a good time, and we're going to try and do this at least twice a year in the Flint community, free of charge for everybody. And I hope that we can grow from it and build from it and be able to do more for Flint.
Absolutely.
All right, so we should probably do a show.
Well, yeah, we'll get to that eventually. But yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing about the progress on that too, man. Congrats again.
Well, and a lot of this stuff, I mean, the STEMnetics stuff is on the STEMnetics Facebook page and the website. But as for the things that happen in Durand, a lot of that gets put into a couple of different Facebooks and that are in Durand, like the chambers. But I'll almost always put it in the greeningyourlife.org site.
Yeah.
These are things I want people to see what we're doing so they know they can too. So
right.
It's just a matter of getting out there, getting the pieces put together and finding the partners to accomplish this stuff.
Definitely. And you'll get it.
But actually kind of rolls right into what we're talking about, because we're going to talk about how we make an impact. And I'm going to leave that open-ended, because that can be good or bad. You can make an impact in a lot of different ways. Now, me and my optimism, I always think it's always good, but sometimes your impact can be negative if you're not careful. So what I did was went through and kind of broke it out. When you think about how you can make an impact, there's different places you can do it. You can do it right in your own community, which is what I preach. Stay within your 3 miles. But there's ways to do it within the state. There's ways to do it in federal. And then there's some general rules, in a sense, that help you make a positive impact. So what we'll start with first is just community, because that's where the vast majority of good has to come.
That's your ground zero.
That is. And of course, if I asked 100 people, 99 would say the same thing: volunteer within your community. The local organizations, if you have a shelter or food bank, community centers, but don't just think about that. There's cleanups, there's public schools, there's a lot of places where people can donate some time and make an impact, especially, like I said, with schools. They're not going to have as much funding as they used to. They're going to do a background check on you. They're going to get your fingerprint. You're going to go in the system. But not only are you helping local education, but you might accidentally change a kid's life just by saying something small or doing something for them. You'd be amazed how little of an action can move a kid in one direction or the other.
For sure.
So that's one of the things I'm talking about, is dedicating some of your time to the community. Because we always talk about community stuff, and it's funny because in order to be part of the community, you have to see other people.
Right.
We talk about making the city walkable. We talk about, interacting with others, creating within the community. But the whole idea is so that you're around the community members, you know each other, and a bond starts to form.
Yeah, and of course you would know more than anybody. That's one of the biggest things that I personally struggle with, is like getting out into the community, just because I am, I don't want to say asocial or antisocial, but man, sometimes getting out into the public is rough on your boy.
It's not that you're antisocial. You're very charismatic and a loving guy. It's just right now it's comfortable here.
Yes.
And going over there can't be as comfortable as here right now.
Yes, that is my mantra. So on that note, and I don't know if I'm jumping the gun here or anything like that, but what do you say to those people such as myself in terms of the real benefits, not just, you're getting out and you're helping your community, but like the actual benefits of getting out and doing something, being involved.
Well, and I always say do is greater than say, first of all. So to help kind of get you moving towards something of that nature, you want to be able to do the do portion. But as much as you do for other people, it makes you as a person feel good. And I have to tell you, in periods of time where things are bad, either at home or you're watching too many things on the television that are negative, or doom scroll after doom scroll is getting to you, getting away and doing something nice, doing something kind, doing something helpful for the community feels good. That all that other noise goes away for a minute. The drawback to being home too much is there's no place to hide from that stuff.
Mhm.
There is when you decide to be the person who takes the ticket at the kids' basketball game just to help out the school, and you get to see all the parents and you laugh and you joke and you have a good time, and then you stick around for the game and watch the game and the kids win and everybody's happy. You go home tired, but you go home happy. And that's the point, is when we spend time in a community helping each other out, by the time we're done, we're happy. People can't ruin that with the noise. I think recently I've been very annoyed also. And I've been posting things like, you can't get mad at the clowns because you're the one going to the circus. You know,
I laugh, but I am a very big fan of that saying because it makes perfect sense.
this concept that we just see all this negativity. Well, if we quit giving them attention, it goes away.
Mhm.
So, how do we quit giving them attention when it's an addiction in humanity to scroll on your phone or to watch a show? You go do something. You go do something that doesn't give you the time to make yourself feel bad. You are going to referee the girls' basketball game. You're going to volunteer coach at the school. You're going to help just one of the local schools. They always worry about people breaking in. There's so many scary stories of people getting into schools and causing damage or hurting people. So they have fathers who just roam the halls and they volunteer their time to keep an eye on the building. These are all things that you can do within your community that fulfill you. Why am I so darn happy about being fully exhausted from that STEM class? I watched between 60 and 80 kids have a blast. They got tons of prizes and gifts. They didn't even want to leave.
Mhm.
The rest of my day was fantastic. I was tired, my legs hurt, but I wouldn't have traded it in for the world. So when I talk about that stuff, you're doing it for them and you. There's a mental health aspect to that too.
Yes. Yeah. So what I hear from that is, being selfless often allows you to still reap personal rewards at the end of the day.
So a couple of times I've tried to give someone something and they wouldn't take it.
Mhm.
Pride, whatever it is. And I tell them, don't take that from me. I can't always give some. Let me have my moment. Let me give you this so I can feel good too. This is an opportunity for both of us to have a good day. I get what you're saying and I appreciate it, but don't take that from me.
Okay.
And when, the same thing when they say, oh, so the neighbor tried to give me this. Well, why'd you make them feel bad for doing a nice thing? Like, let them do their nice thing.
Yeah.
And you got to soften it up. You got to lighthearten it a little bit. And you have to take away all this weight that we've given everybody. Like, you can't help a neighbor without that neighbor feeling like, oh, great, now I'm a charity. No, we're a community. There's going to be a day you're going to look over here and go, oh, dude, you're doing that wrong. I'm on my way. And you're going to come help me. That's what community is. We just help each other. You make an impact in your community by being a member of it.
Mhm.
So that's how I see that interaction intertwined through, is just soup kitchen. You don't want to talk directly to a person, then you can sit in the back with the drill and mix the big thing of mashed potatoes. Someone's got to do it.
Right.
And if you do that long enough, you'll start talking to people, I promise.
Yeah, I think sometimes people struggle with that. Not myself. Like, I'm one of those weird people that, you can drop me in a room with somebody who has, a dollar in their bank account, or somebody that has $1 billion in their bank account. And, the conversation for me is roughly the same. I don't typically shy away from conversation. I am a fairly sociable person, But there are people who do struggle with that. And what do you say to the notion that a lot of people just simply don't do it for the fear of getting out and integrating and conversing? Like, I think sometimes people don't get out into the community because they don't want to be in front of the camera, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. And there's plenty of spots as a supporting cast member. Yeah, edible landscape. Yeah, a lot of times they'll stick me in front of the camera or stick Jeff in front of the camera, but there's still 15 people pulling weeds. It got to a point there for a while. We had so much media attention, I couldn't even actually do the cleanup. That's what I was doing, was talking to people all day long, talking to this newspaper, talking to that TV news station, whatever it happens to be. Everybody else was still doing the work. What happens is we go, hey, do you want to talk to him? And you go, I don't want to talk to him. And we say, okay, and move on to the next person. You're
Right.
still part of the team. You will probably end up talking to the people who are doing things with you at some point.
Of course.
When you're comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're going to walk over and bring you water. You're going to say thank you. They're going to say you're welcome. Anything else you need? You know, you're going to have some interaction. And maybe that interaction over enough periods of time, you'll feel comfortable talking to these team members, these people you're with all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So not only are you helping the community, you're growing a little each time that you do it. And that will help some of that anxiety.
Okay.
So
Okay.
another thing you can do, and it's simple, support local business. I mean, cannot say that enough. We have gotten to a point where we're way too into the convenience. And I'll tell you, over the last couple of months, I've started switching a lot of things. Do I still use Amazon? Yes, but I use it selectively.
Right.
I'm attempting to wean myself from getting it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes the thing I got tomorrow or got coming for tomorrow, I may not, I've caught myself. Maybe I don't necessarily want it or need it. Like 2 days later, I forgot that I got it. The fact that we can have boxes show up on our doorstep and you can play the game of what did I buy?
Yeah. Yeah. That's weird.
That means we're doing it wrong.
We got too much stuff.
Got too much stuff. So I'm trying to walk into the local business, say hi to the owner, get the things I can, all from them first, then turn around and say what is missing. And then if I have to get that online, I do it.
Mm-hmm.
Shaw's is my place across the street here. That is my new, go see if it's there first. Today I had to go, I could have ordered and had things delivered, but I decided to go to the Riverside Market and go pick up the items directly.
Right.
Which, for so long after COVID, I had everything delivered. I need to occasionally go walk through the building, so doing that business especially in a small town, it's not as big of a deal in a big city because a lot of stuff is still corporate. You got to kind of search out the mom and pop shops. I would recommend any mom and pop shops. Hit them as often as you can. The restaurants, that kind of stuff. They're usually better anyways.
Yeah. So here's the one thing on the subject of, Amazon specifically. And I know you most likely brought that up because a lot of people are, in terms of making an impact, I'm not going to shop at Target because of, what they deal with in their DEI policies. And I'm not going to deal with Amazon because of, the Bezos, who is basically Lex Luthor in real life now. So this is one area that I struggle with in terms of making an impact or making a difference, because as much as I want to say, okay, I'm not going to spend money at Amazon because of their policies and things like that, part of me ultimately feels like that is a meaningless protest, so to speak, because Amazon is still, Bezos is still going to eventually get my money that day several times over because of something called, and I wasn't aware of this at first, the scale and scope of it, but Amazon makes more money off of their AWS service than they do from people, e-commerce dollars. And the web services are like everywhere. So I got just a short list of who uses them. So Netflix uses AWS, Disney uses AWS. Twitter, McDonald's, Nordstrom, Adobe, Capital One, Comcast, NASA. Like AWS is in a lot of places and in a lot of things. So it's like, how do we truly make an impact? Is by saying we're going to boycott one side of the business, but the other side of the business is still firing it. To me, I compare it to saying, I'm gonna stop taking in sugar, but then instead of eating cookies and brownies and treats, you crack open a Sprite or something like that. Like it's
So, couple of things when it comes to businesses. 50 years ago, there is well, let's go 60 years ago. Too big to fail was called Sears.
Hmm.
And in that world, nothing could hurt Sears. This stuff happens. Companies get big, but people are the reason why they exist. So yeah, they might lose on their sales for items. But what happens is they become the big bad company. Walmart was almost there.
Yeah.
Walmart got beat up bad. As a matter of fact, they have had moments of struggle. And all of a sudden, they started to do all kinds of 501c3 donation groups. They have they'll pay the employees to go work in communities. They use solar energy in a lot of their sites. They are starting to diversify in that manner, knowing that the reputation got too bad.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you, these big companies, the ego doesn't allow them often to think they can go down like Sears. Sears purposely didn't change a thing because they're Sears.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Sears and Kmart, I think there's one like mini Sears left, and Kmart is huge in Australia, not in the US anymore.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as too big because if you are bad enough, people will act. And kind of like the whole GameStop thing. You attacked my childhood. We put 3 hedge funds out of business. That stuff can happen. And when it does, it scares the crap out of them. So now I'm going to address another thing you said.
Mm-hmm.
Meaningless protest.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they get you to never vote for a third party. We can never grow a third party. As many people know that when it comes to this kind of stuff, I like to work with like the Forward Party or No Labels.
Right.
This is always the most important election. They will continue to find the bottom of the barrel on each side because then it becomes the most important. You can't do it. That's just a protest vote. You're throwing it away. None of those things are true. They're not. It takes people to do that. It takes people to have that third party vote. It takes people to choose to not purchase. And I don't protest not purchase. I just choose not. I just decide I'm not going to. Because when you protest, it goes away.
Right.
That's an emotion that peaks and then valleys and then goes away. You know as well as I do, there's places in my region I don't go to. In 4.5 years, I still haven't gone to them.
Yeah.
Because I choose not to. I disagree. It's not that I'm going to run around and tell everybody, or I would have been saying names.
Yeah.
I'm going to just choose not to. Some people have figured it out
Mm.
because every time they go, "Hey, let's go here," I'm like, I'm really feeling a burger at this other place. Can we do that this week? And I find a way to weasel out of it without
Okay.
really telling anybody. But in the meantime, 4.5 years of going out to eat maybe once a week, it's a reasonable amount of income over a period of time that is just not there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
With me choosing to try to get as much local stuff as I can, do I really think that what would have been $1,000 stem order is now a $200 stem order is really going to affect Amazon? Probably not, but it's going to make a massive impact on the local store.
Got it.
So
that makes perfect sense.
The mindset isn't screw them.
Mm-hmm.
It's the mindset is how can I do it better?
Got it.
By default, they'll step on their own feet. They have no concept of reality of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
You're right. It is comically ridiculous that we have billionaires going into space for perspective. You want perspective? Here's minimum wage. How about you hang out in Flint for the next year? I'll give you perspective.
Right.
Here's your job. You're doing labor. See you next year. That's perspective. Going into space and seeing Earth from a beautiful standpoint, a natural beauty. isn't going to give them the perspective I need them to have.
Mm-hmm.
You know what does? A third of their stock value disappearing over the last 2 months. That does get their attention. And you
Yeah.
can't do it with emotions or it won't be consistent. You just find a better way.
Right. Yeah, and that's, to hear you say that perspective is really important, because I know I've never really looked at it like that. It is always a don't spend your money here sort of thing. And when I hear that don't spend your money here, I never really consider the alternative of going and spending my money elsewhere. And I wonder if that's part of why we, and I'll group myself into that group. I wonder why so many people feel like, well, it's pointless to try to take on this large corporation, because they're going to get my money somehow, which is still true. But yeah, also, maybe instead of getting that toothpaste from Amazon or whatever the case may be, drop by local market and see if they carry it.
Yeah. And what's the worst case scenario? It's 50 cents more, $1 more.
Mm-hmm.
You're still doing the right thing. It takes some effort. It does change habits.
Yeah.
But if a little bit, big bit, if more and more people change those habits, then you'll know, because all of a sudden they'll be like, hey, look at us. Look, look how we've changed.
Right.
Now they haven't. That's called marketing.
Mm-hmm.
But they'll go, look, now we're doing these wonderful things. It's kind of like the pizza party at work when they don't want to give you a raise. When they don't want to do the right thing, they give you a distraction.
Yep.
The moment you start seeing distractions, you know you're doing good. So some other things that you can do locally: be a mentor, be an educator, be a tutor.
Mm.
Especially in days like right now, education is about to have we may see our lowest level of funding in a long, long time. You want to dedicate your time to someone, look for a kid that's challenged with reading or math and help them out. By the way, you can also learn the math with them and still be helping. So you're like, hey, math isn't fourth grade math. I'm going to struggle. Okay, struggle with them, because together you have a thought process, and they're going to learn it as soon as you do.
Mm-hmm.
And it will cement in. It's a partnership. They no longer feel like the person getting tutored. You are discovering it together. You can be a tutor with very little knowledge because you're teaching them how to problem solve.
Right.
And
Yeah,
you're actually
it's
teaching
funny
them how
that
to learn.
it's funny that you pick math out, because I am notoriously trash with math specifically,
Oh,
and
you're
that
killing me.
that's one of those things. But I will take it a step further, because a lot of people that I run into from the time that I was doing the classes there at Dabble, a lot of people are like, I am trash at technology, and I think no, you don't necessarily have to be a full blown rocket scientist expert at everything to tutor or help build up people in community who may be deficient in things. So yeah, I can definitely get on board with the mentorship side of things. I see on the daily how important that sort of thing can be.
And you can save a family who is struggling between $50 and $100 an hour
Mm-hmm.
to help out.
Mm-hmm.
That's huge. That is huge. This last STEM event, we saw a kid build an amazing gear set, able to control all these different wheels with this interesting integrate gear set, to the point where one of the STEMnetics employees ran over to me like, Mike, you got to see this. And I walked over to the family and I'm like, I found out they're local. They're near here. Your kid's amazing. Got a natural ability for mechanics. I want to let you know, if you're interested in robotics, it starts Thursday at 5:30 and your son has a scholarship.
Huh.
And they were just over the moon and all excited, and I'm going to hold the class anyways.
Right.
This kid with 80 kids in the room was noticed. They knew they were noticed. Their parents were calling family members like, oh my goodness, they just got a scholarship to go into robotics at Dabble. So we can do a lot of things to excite kids, even the hardest period of time to be a kid,
Right.
and get funding for education.
Yeah, and like you just said though too, mentoring or just kind of showing the way that's going to create a lasting impact on that kid. Obviously, very mechanically inclined, and now they're going to be able to go and immerse themselves into something that they're naturally interested in. And that, sometimes that's one of those things that, these insanely inventive, wildly impactful engineers are like, yeah, I can remember going to this, robotics camp when I was little, and that's when I first discovered my love of this and this and this, and this is when I first started thinking about this need that nobody solved, and nobody solved the problem for just yet, and that's awesome. That's super awesome to hear, man.
The simple fact is that not every family can afford to do these things.
Right.
But that should never be a reason why a kid can't.
Mm-hmm.
And me as the owner of Dabble, you as a possible tutor, we can fix that without the permission of people and their money. We can just make it happen. And that's so, someone's like, Mike, that was really nice of you. No, he belongs in that class and he's going to be in it.
Right.
Bottom line, we can make a big impact in that way. We can also make a negative impact by just saying no.
Yes. Yeah.
It could have gone very, very differently in that situation. The family was saying they have to find these free events to be able to help him go do these things. And we could have just robbed that from them by not telling them where the next event is, or not even holding that event. He would just sit home.
Right.
The things that we do have an impact far greater. What's going to happen is someday I'm going to fall and break my leg, and this kid's going to be an engineer who builds this awesome thing for my leg so I can walk again. It's going to be something like that.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and you would think so. I guess I think I know the answer to it, but I'll pose that question anyway. Why aren't more multinational, multi-billion-dollar corporations taking that approach? It's and I'm not saying all of them, because I know a good chunk of them do offer scholarships and things like that, but it feels like a vast majority of people are only largely concerned about profit and profitability. Like, they don't do as much as they could.
It's the system is designed with infinite growth in mind. They have to always beat what they've done before. So they can't commit to a ton, because even if they only make $3 billion when they said they were going to make $3.1 billion, their stock drops and they lose a large percentage of their equity. It's just a bad system. It's broken.
Yeah.
It is built for buying back stock, and that doesn't help anybody but 12, 15, 30 people. It's a broken system. To me, they're not even part of reality. Like, those people aren't real people. They're fictional. They're on TV. I'll never see them. I'm not going to see them in the same they don't even shop at a grocery store.
Right.
I'm not going to see them in the community. It's kind of like the next piece on here was local government, being a part of it in some way.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain people, even in local government, you don't see in public. They hide like they're special. They're not. They're just people. All those ones that we're talking about, I don't even think but they could be literally AI for all I know.
Right.
But I deal with the people in front of me. So, but what I wanted to put into this local government thing, it doesn't mean always run for something.
Okay. That was
I've
my immediate
run.
concern as soon as I heard.
I have never run for anything, at least to this point.
And I've been trying to get you to, for is I feel like after, which I think was maybe, gosh, has it been 5 years since the first time you were on my podcast? I think we did it like right as COVID kicked off. But yeah, so for 5 years I've been trying to get you to run for office. So
you may not want to, because I'm gonna drag you with me. You'll be my PR guy.
I know, then I'll have no choice but to leave my house.
There's jobs in your community that are appointed. Every seat I have is appointed. I'm on the planning commission for the city. That's a mayor appointed position. I happen to have some knowledge that helps us in that manner, but there's park and recs, there's zoning, all these things. If you go to the city council, you're going to have to do the whole election thing, but the rest of these things are just appointed.
Right.
Then you're still part of the community. You could be, if you own a small business, join the chamber, try to get on that board.
Mm-hmm.
That's appointed. And next thing you know, you're part of the decision making. So you can bring, if there's a lot of irrational thought, there's at least one seat that has rational thought. And I'll promise you, when you get there, there's already others fighting this battle. You're just there to help.
Okay.
So you can join these groups within your government and help kind of shape things. Durand is getting more and more conscious of the environmental side because Jeff had been doing it for years, but then I jumped in and started helping, and it gave a little extra weight.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's the mayor, so he's got more weight than I do. But the whole idea is that we bring in good people with good ideas, with positive feelings, and who are trying to help, and those are the ones who lead the government. That is how you go from local up with good honorable people. And of course, with that becomes be an advocate. Be an advocate for what's right, what's good. When you hear something that is bad, then you say that is bad. You've heard some of the stories where I've gotten into it with a few people here and there for saying something silly. But it's only when you confront them do they know that it's bad. They think it's part of their culture until otherwise stated. That seems to be the excuse each time. There's some kind of culture mix that makes them feel that that's okay. But
right.
So before we move on, we're never going to get to national. So I'm not even going to pretend like we're going to try. But and to be honest, it's kind of useless. It was going to be a space filler of time, but we're having a good conversation, so I'm scrapping it.
Okay.
One thing that is important is bringing your A game. Okay. It is very, very hard to do good things in a bad space when your mind isn't there, when you're pressed, when you're stressed. Because the last thing you want to do is go help someone and rub off on them, with your depression or your stress or these things.
Yes.
For me, one of the things that I needed to do was think, and I needed to think clearly. I needed to think quick, like I've always done in the past. When I was a kid, I was firing things off like a spark plug, man. I was always in that manner. As I got older, I started to worry about it because it seemed like someone would ask a question, I just stare at them for a second. Like it wasn't registering. And I later found out that's brain fog. And with a family with Alzheimer's, I got to tell you, that freaks you right the hell out.
For sure.
So you always want to do the things you need to do to be healthy because you got to be healthy to help others. For me, changing some diet stuff, using my magic mind, taking those drinks every single morning, I honestly have sharpened up quite a bit. I'm quicker. I'm able to handle I know there's no such thing as a multitask, but the multi-switching between tasks that you do on a regular basis, dealing with a day job, with a night job, with a hobby, being able to clear your mind and say, no, 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 put this stuff in order, start at the top, work my way down and be successful. It's the only way that we get groups of people together to agree to create edible landscapes, to create internet projects, to now looking at incubator systems, which will be probably close to $1 million project. You have to have your mind right. And for me, it had to be making some changes, getting my sleep. It has helped me tremendously with Magic Mind, taking the daily morning shot and then the nighttime sleep aid.
Okay.
Which gets me to relax enough to go to sleep. I'm not waking up in the middle of the night. I'm an old guy, so you're like supposed to get up 14 times in the middle of the night. Sometimes you don't even know why. And I don't do that. Every once in a while, you get a little heartburn and it's going to wake me up and I got to get up and go get something to drink and kind of walk around for a second. But generally, for me, to survive burnout, to reduce stress, it has been an amazing addition to my diet.
I myself have I have tried a couple, and I can't say that I tried them enough to notice the long-term results from it. But even, the week that I did, because I pestered you into getting a little week supply myself, and yeah, man, I could definitely tell a difference there. Like, okay, like you said earlier, that brain fog is cleared.
That is so brutal.
It is the worst. And part of me wonders, how we've become this kind of caffeine or coffee reliant society, how much better perhaps everybody would be if we all had access to something like that.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, I am one of the most pessimistic people you're gonna find when it comes to supplemental things like this. But I'm obviously not getting it in my food.
Right.
That's what's happening. I'm not choosing the right foods to get these vitamins, the vitamin D, because I got to tell you, it's almost warm, and I haven't necessarily hit that like wall. Jamie has been making jokes about like I'm not just depressed wanting to lay on the couch. And I got to tell you, February and March, that's Mike's sick of snow time. And then right now, don't get me wrong, I'm complaining, but I don't have that problem. And they've even helped me out with a couple of other things, just in case I don't have the drinks near me. I have a massive bag of gummies now I can take with me if I need to.
Are those Magic Mind gummies?
Yes, they are.
No way.
So I'm surrounded by this stuff now. So for me, it's fantastic. At work as an engineer, it's a hard job and you're thinking of 100 things at once and it doesn't hurt. You're not scared to answer a question. You're not sitting there praying constantly that someone doesn't ask you a question in public that you don't know the answer to. That stress seems to have melted away. And to me, that's exceptionally important, not just for me as a person, but what we're talking about right now. You have to have that confidence to be able to accomplish some of these things to make an impact in the community. So I guess at this point, one of the things I'm supposed to say is that Magic Mind is fantastic. It's down in the description. And if you actually decide that you would like to try it out, please do click on the link down in the description. And don't forget to use Sustainability 20 to get your 20% off. It is fantastic. And if you decide to do that, let me know. Use it for about a week or 2 weeks. Let me know how you feel. Because I got to tell you, one thing you listeners have figured out is I'm not going to tell you things that I don't, I will say when something sucks. And this one has helped me out tremendously. Even when Magic Mind wasn't a partner, I was still taking it. So that should tell you something.
Yeah, you are a zero remorse type of guy when it comes to saying when things are not good.
That's why I don't do interview shows.
Yes. Yeah.
Remember, so just so everybody knows, we're going to stray off here just for a second. Rob, who has the Curated Culture, it's an amazing show. He does a lot of great interviews. He's like, why are you not interviewing people? Let's find you someone to interview. I'm like, what do you mean find me someone to interview?
Mm-hmm.
I have a whole folder full of people to interview. I receive emails at least once a week of someone contacting me to talk to someone in some industry, CEOs and owners of companies. It happens all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember you saying, you know how hard it is to find people to interview? I'm like, not really, because I got a whole bucket full of them. I don't want to do it because if it doesn't turn out to where, let's say they're greenwashing, I have to say that.
Right.
We may spend 2 days trying to figure out if we can get this done. And I may just say, okay, we're just not going to do it. I can't put you on the show because I'm going to say things that you're not going to want to answer.
Right.
So, and to fix that, I've just thrown them in a little bucket over here, and I haven't called anybody. But to your dismay,
yes, always.
And maybe at some point, maybe we can get better at that and come up with a way to be able. Because I think there's some value, especially when people are out there doing good things. It's just the fact that you got to weed through the bad ones to find the good ones, and I'm not willing to put them on the show if they're not the good ones.
Yeah, which makes perfect sense because ultimately you have a reputation to uphold, and more importantly than that, you can't put you have become a trusted source of information around these things, and you can't put your stamp on somebody that is not doing the right thing.
Well, and I'll let everybody in on a little secret. When I make a mistake, I beat myself up over it forever. I think we've told the story about the Girl Scouts I've left at the front of the building on a Christmas week, and I still do things for those Girl Scouts, and they're going, Mike, it's over. It's okay. But I still left them out there in the cold one day 3 years ago, and it's unacceptable. It hits me hard when I make a mistake and someone says, you said it was fantastic and it sucks. So I'm very, very careful with that stuff because I do not want to, especially when people are spending their hard-earned money.
Right.
It's just, I don't know. Anyways, I should get off that. Again, Magic Mind, if you want to go down to the description, use Sustainability 20 as your coupon code, and it will give you a discount on your subscription. So anyways, let's go back to more of this, how we can make an impact, because it's an important thing, especially now when grants are getting shut off, when funding is disappearing. Not being reallocated, disappearing. It's so important that the community circles the wagons, or you may lose a whole generation in the education side of things. Kind of like what we did with COVID. We were not prepared to go online. Kids, teachers alike were not prepared to go through an educational process during COVID. And there's a lot of kids that ended up pretty far behind in their reading, their math skills, or even social skills. And if we're not careful in the cut and slash era, that's going to happen worse.
More frequently.
And, yeah. So we have to be very, very mindful of how we manage this stuff. So, and how we work with our community. Now, there is some stuff, state-wise. I still think 99% of everything we talked about as local is the most important. In your own community, your 3 miles, that is your scope. If you want sanity, that is your scope. But there are some things that you can do at a state level, just by simply being an advocate. Don't think I'm not considering standing in front of the State House or going over to Washington to talk about education and get permission to go stand in front of them and yell at them for making poor choices. That is a possibility. But you join other groups that are doing that too. Even if you're not wildly active, you're still making the number of people who obviously care about this topic bigger. The bigger that number is, the more rich people get scared when that group doesn't like them.
Yes.
So even if you do nothing, you can sign up, get their emails, get their mailers, get their fundraisers, all the things. But you're still a number that you help that number go up. And that can help the people who are talking to Congress, the people who are talking to the State House, get something done.
I feel like do you ever wonder though why there's always strength in numbers, right? Do you ever wonder why we haven't figured out just yet, like when we stick together, when we attack this one problem as a group, we are more likely to get results and movement from those in power, the powers that be, the rich people, instead of the normally what's on display is the divide and conquer strategy.
So if you've gone to psychology classes in your first year or second year of college, you know the answer to this already. It's in the book. It's not new. And I'm going to give you the story of the last time we almost did it. In 2008, it got so bad that President Obama, in a room full of bankers, said, and I quote, "I am the only one between you and the pitchforks." And he was right. People had camped out on their front yard. And I don't mean just Wall Street. Sometimes their front yard of their home, they pitched tents. That scared them. So what did they do? They had to selectively take care of certain groups. They had to now, hey, you can buy a house really, really cheap. I mean, none of the people that were in that yard, but others.
Right.
And what they did is they were able to divide and conquer in that manner. And it slowly faded out because anger and emotion can only go so far. They can wait out anger and emotion if there isn't any structure. In the meantime, they fed and slightly helped other groups. And those people were like, I'm doing fine. I don't know why they're freaking out. So they lost the support of those on the margins, the ones that were close to falling. And even some of that were doing better and more well off got some help. And they isolated these few and made them the pariah. Over time, they lost their momentum. They scattered to the wind. We turned around as a government and said, we're never going to let it happen again. We're going to put these protections in place. You have your confidence in us, and it won't happen again. People got deals. Jobs started coming back. You put money in the pockets of people and they no longer care. Matter of fact, you can take a vast majority of someone's rights as long as they think it's to their advantage. And it doesn't actually have to be to their advantage. They just have to think it is. So here we are, over the years, more and more people were able to get some houses early. By the way, the vast majority were still bought by corporations. We just talked about the few people who were able to get houses.
Right.
And here we are today, completely divided, not only by politics, but by color or creed or if you're a Netflix or Peacock person, there is no limit to how small of a section we can dwindle ourselves down to.
Mm-hmm.
You go on Facebook and I stand with Ukraine, or I'm with Russia, or I'm with this person, or I'm with that person. If you do that enough times, everybody's in their own group.
Right.
There is no way to unify.
Mm-hmm.
It takes very special moments for unification. Well, the bank protections are gone. That happened again, I believe it was last month.
Mm-hmm.
Consumer protection is gone. I just saw a thing for credit card that said that APR adjusting anywhere from 1995 to 5674.
Yes. Yep.
Holy crap, that is
Yes.
hilarious. And
Yeah.
unfortunate because someone will push that button.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the moment they get it.
More than 50%. More than 50%. So now there is no one out there protecting us.
No.
Here's what will happen. They will abuse it.
Mm-hmm.
They will abuse it to no end, to the point where they've crippled the economy, and the government has to step back in and go, you are bad, because people will have the pitchforks again. We go through this cycle.
Yes.
There's only moments where we start to bond together. You almost had it with the Wall Street stuff in 08. You get it with, I got to tell you, Reddit is a great place for that to happen, because they took out 3 hedge funds and thought it was hilarious. I mean, they got rich guys on TV losing their minds. So
Yeah.
it can happen, but they figured out the algorithm to separation, and they use it time and time and time again. And all it takes is another generation. If we don't learn from history, we get to relive it. And the handful of people who do see it, well, now we just call them crazy.
Mm-hmm.
You gaslight the crap out of them.
Right. Yeah, right.
That's all
Yes.
it is.
We label them an alarmist.
Right. And so, no, I get it. I absolutely get it. It is sometimes maddening, but that's why you shrink your scope. It's hard for someone in your community who knows you to call you names, to do the things that we're talking about. And if your community can stay strong, even if everybody around you is suffering, you might actually even be able to help the surrounding communities with yours, because yours is still strong, right, wrong, or indifferent. Then you can choose to help a little more. That's why I'm always so focused on small.
Right.
So we talked about being an advocate for different changes, and that counts for like healthcare, education. I know I talk education a lot when I should be saying environmental a lot too.
Yeah.
But but healthcare, there's a lot of things out there that we can work on. There's a lot of statewide organizations that work very, very hard on all of these topics. Be a number for them, or get out there, and if you feel it in your heart, then you go out there and you do the work. Everybody has a passion. Everybody has something they care very much about. I very much care about environmental health. Here's the problem with me. I care too much about too many things. It makes it very hard to target. Environmental health is very important, but I watch recently severe healthcare deficiencies lead to someone's death.
Yeah.
And that infuriates me, because that person doesn't get to come back.
Right.
That decision, that financial decision, left to a non-existent, and that will fire me up as much as water. But healthcare, education, these are all very deep things for me. Everybody has something they have a passion for. You get out there and defend it. Now, when using AI for some of these things, of course, it says run for office.
God, you're reading my mind.
Here's the thing. I'd probably get shot, but I mean, simple fact is maybe someday.
Yeah.
But I think that someday comes when I can't make any more progress on the outside.
Got it.
And I can't do anything for anybody else, and it takes more. Then maybe that happens.
Okay.
But there are some people out there who are perfectly capable, who have the skill set and the moral backing. And I always say, try to do it with a buddy system, man. Keep your, I don't remember what they called it in Inception, the item that brings you back to reality when everything is crazy.
Oh man, was it it wasn't your God, was it talisman?
Something so when I joke and say there's a handful of people, if I was going to do this, and this handful of people's coming with me, that's what that is.
Yes.
Because when you go into crazy, they drag you down to their level and beat you with experience. And you have to continue to do the things you've always done before you got there. And I think that's where we fail when new people get into office.
Yes.
You have to bring that supporting cast with you.
Yeah, we it's called a totem, by the way.
Totem. Thank you.
But we had that conversation, I feel like, in either the last episode that I was on or maybe 2 episodes ago, where it is less likely for a person to be as effective as they can be in a community if they don't actually live in that community. We were talking about the example of police officers specifically, and yes, 100%. If you are running for political office for any kind of space, specifically if you are not an active resident or former resident even of that space, then can you be truly impactful?
It's got to be harder. And we hear a lot about that because we have a lot of major positions in our city held by people from outside the city. So that's why you hear a lot about in Durand, because there's things being said on a regular basis. Doesn't mean these people can't do their job, but it is just a job.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's where the advantage comes with someone who is from that space, because it's not just a job. They shop at the same grocery store. They go to the same bank. We're going to stand next to each other at the gas station.
Mm.
And I think that's what the disconnect is with the state.
Mm.
They go somewhere else. They send someone to fill the car up. These are things you got to be standing in the same grocery store. And when someone says, "What the hell?" you sit down and you answer it. That's your obligation. And I think if we could do more of that, you can have a lot more trust in people in government from citizens. Because I'll tell you, the first disconnect, the first separation of individuals is to sever you from the government and make you distrust the government in everything. That is quite literally step one in the handbook of controlling the narrative.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I don't know if they still have it, but if you go to Netflix, there's a series called How to Be a Tyrant.
Yes. Yeah.
And it will tell you every step. It's happened like 44 times in world history. It's not hard with minor variation. It's just we don't take the time to learn it, so we don't recognize when it happens. And even good people get caught on the wrong side because they're just not. They don't have their totem.
Right. Yes.
And so if I ever decided to take that next step, I'll have an army of totems. the people that need to be around me will be around me one way or another, because
Sure.
I think good people go there and do bad things. They get stuck in the whirlwind.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, it is easier to get lost in things that aren't directly impacting a specific community. Again, if you surround yourselves with people who aren't necessarily from, the place that you are trying to better, then I would imagine a lot of times the stuff that ends up on your desk has absolutely nothing to do with bettering the place, right? It is often things that, are going to be serving something completely opposite or the greater good. And you're just kind of playing a role because you have the ability to make change. But it doesn't necessarily mean that the change you're making is going to be effective in your community.
You get caught up in the noise. You start talking about topics that have no value. How many times have we watched week after week, argument after argument over something that didn't exist in our state?
Yeah.
Because it's a national talking point that really didn't necessarily exist in the national side, but it's the talking point of the month, and we're going to waste our life talking about it for no apparent reason. Meanwhile, we're losing funding for schools. School buses are breaking down. We don't have any health care available for people, or we don't deal with mental health in any other way but a prison. Like, there has to be a rational thing. I really feel like you want to change the world, get 50 people to primary these people every 2 years.
Yeah.
Every time someone runs, get a handful of people to primary them and constantly put the pressure, because at some point they'll just go, not that person, and they'll pick someone else. Someone else
For
will
sure.
get that job.
Yeah, there's always, it's the spoke on the wheel mentality,
So if you have that skill set, please do. If you're a rational individual who cares about healthcare and human rights and equality of all of these things that matter in humanity, not financial, because that's what we're seeing today is we're going to manage a dollar and not the person.
Mm-hmm.
I would encourage you, and depending on, you can contact me, we can have a conversation. Maybe I'll even support you. But we got to get other people who are not a lawyer, not a businessman. It should represent the people of a state. There should be more teachers than lawyers, because there's more teachers than lawyers in your state.
Right.
There should be, give me the committee man from the plant, give me a line operator. Everybody should be represented in there. Now, as long as you understand what you're doing and you do it with honor and integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the other things. And then one of the greatest things that you can do, this is for me going back to the community, but even in a state, is create coalition of groups. One of the things I'm most proud of that's happening in Durand is that we're getting groups who used to be their own individual silo. They did their own thing. It was sometimes redundant to someone else's events. They're, oh, we're gonna give away backpacks. Well, so are we, and so are we. Instead of
Mm-hmm.
everybody coming together, giving it at one spot
Yeah,
and
just
giving
do
away
one
their
big
backpack,
one.
we do that now. More and more of these groups in Durand are coming together. I'm pretty lucky because I'm kind of the middle person for a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like they trust me, so they come in. But we have local churches that work hand in hand with Dabble. We have the Chamber, we have the DDA, we have Eagles clubs. All these groups start to come together. And if you can do that at a city or state level, now you're building an organization that can get things done.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's not, they didn't separate everybody into their individual silos. When we went and said, we want to do the internet project, the minister from that church showed up. All these local leaders, the leader of the DDA, the chamber, business owners, everybody started showing up. That changes the mindset of an elected official when they see that happen. So one of the biggest things you can do is create coalitions between these groups. Groups can get things done. Bigger groups get bigger things done.
Right.
And that has really helped us tremendously.
Yeah, because I mean, like you said, in the example of the backpacks, a lot of times people kind of see a problem. We want to solve this problem by providing backpacks to these kids, but if there's 5 other businesses that are doing it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to compete over who's going to give the most backpacks. Like, no, unite and make sure that everybody that needs a backpack can get it, because resources most of the time are finite. You only have access to a certain amount of them. But if you work with your neighbor next door, if you work with this business up the street, then your 10 backpacks that you actually have to give away then all of a sudden becomes 20, and it becomes 30 and 40, and you can support more people that way. So yes, once again, that makes perfect sense. Why doesn't it happen more?
Everybody has their own little agenda. You just have to be the person that glues the groups together. I believe everybody here can get along just fine, but sometimes in old towns like this, you got so and so who's mad at so and so because they dated someone in 9th grade. Well, 50 years ago. The kid doesn't get a backpack because you're mad at this person? No. And sometimes it just takes a rational center. You get a few of these leaders in the community to agree. You become friends, and they worry about intertwining the groups and working together. It has been very important for Durand, and you can tell in the events. If you come out during the concerts, you come out during some of our special events, it's good size now. Those groups come out in force, and they do good things. So that is an important aspect. If you have that skill and that capability to unify these groups, or you're in both and have the ear of those who run them, get them together.
Right.
Because that can do a lot of things. I know I always hold you here too long. So I'm going to try to wrap us up here shortly. The couple of things that you just got to say, no matter the scale, your actions can inspire others. It does not matter if it's local, state, federal, in your house. Your actions can inspire others to do good things too. My goal is someone sees what I do, but they're better at it, and they go out and make a real difference because they saw me have effort. And I don't care if they're just taking over for me or they're like, nah, he's all right, but I can do way better than that. And pump that ego, go do great things. Remember, you can do the right thing for the wrong reason and still get the same and get a right result. So I hope that's what I want is people to pick up the ball when I drop it.
Mm-hmm.
Be kind, be compassionate. Small acts have huge impacts. Hold the door open for someone and smile. Pick up something when they drop it. Little things. Every day, all you see on social media, well, no one's nice anymore. No one's nice. Oh, I drove by someone and they honked at me. No one understands anymore. Yeah, they do. Everybody is living their own life. Don't be sold on negative. Live to the best of your ability sustainably.
Mm-hmm.
The more sustainable you are, the more people see that, and the more people who can get some inspiration from that. Stay informed can be hard. In a local community, I do a lot of asking the person who said it. If I'm going to stay informed, I'm going to stay informed from the person who said the thing. I don't do news. I take it back. I read AP. That's about it.
Yeah.
Local stuff, if I hear gossip, I ask the person.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is.
You just go straight to the source.
There's no reason to even humor the gossip and to collaborate. Find people with the same vision and unify. The more people with the same vision, the quicker you can move things forward, the more relevant those things become, and the more that others decide that they would join you. Always think long term. One of the things that's driving me bonkers right now with the attack on education is that is a long term failure.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, they've seen it time and time and time again. It decimated the Middle East. You can't attack learning and come out on top. It's a temporary win for people who want power, but it never sustains long term. It decimates where that happens. So always think long term. Whatever you're doing, is this good for you now or good for everybody consistently?
Mm-hmm.
You have to be honest with yourself. You always invest in education any way you can. You got $20 and no place to put it, stick it in go pay someone's part of their STEM class. Go help with the tutoring. Be that tutor. That you can invest with your time. Invest in education wherever you can find it and build networks. Coalitions win these little wars. Partnerships get things done. Make friends, build coalitions, help them with their needs. They'll help you with yours. That's how I believe we can make an impact in communities, states, no matter what. We just stay positive and keep working together, and you'd be amazed what you can accomplish.
I love it. Out of all of that, the one consistent theme that I'm hearing is that Rob will eventually have to leave his house.
You can do it here. Edible landscape. We're going to start cleanups in May. You can just come hang out. You can stand next to me. I will take all the attention and we will clean things up together. And you were out of the house. You're going to love the sun. It's great. I don't know if you've seen it in a while, but it feels good. It makes you feel great. I'm telling you, it's a good day.
I'm a regular Nosferatu around these parts.
One of these days, one of these days, like I said, I'm gonna get you on that island one of these days too. So I keep talking the trash. I'm gonna have to start like making friends with the wife and like, hey, we can go do this.
You're gonna manifest it into reality. It's all good. I'm here for it.
Anyways, I don't want to keep you all night. The most important part of the night is your socials. You want to tell everybody where to find you?
Oh, well, I appreciate you lying to your audience in that sense, but yeah, man. So you can catch me personally at Robbie Diesel virtually everywhere. Search for Robbie Diesel, and that's DEEZLE, and a picture of my lovely brown face will pop up. Or you can check out my brand, my company, my media company, the Curated Culture. It is virtually everywhere. We have a website, we have a podcast on Spotify, we have a BlueSky, we have a Facebook page, we have Instagram. So yeah, check us out, Robbie Diesel and the Curated Culture.
Thank you very much. And if you haven't listened to the Curated Culture, yeah, do it. There so many different topics. If you jump on there and you're like, that doesn't interest me, just scroll down. There's something for everybody on there. And I'm a nerd, so the vast majority fits me. It's just how it works. But anyways, first of all, thank you, everybody. We really do appreciate every listener that comes to Realistic Sustainability. All the communication that I get through emails from people or messages, the traffic, the mentions, the tags, all that stuff. Thank you. It's been fantastic. And it's actually been kind of busy over the last month. So I never have a good way to express the appreciation that I have for everybody. I also want to thank Magic Mind again, because without that clarity, without that stress relief and the sleep aid, I probably couldn't do this show like I was doing. That's one of the reasons why it disappeared for a while. Sometimes there's just too much. I get it. Life can be that way. Take care of yourself, get your rest, get your vitamins, and then you can really make a difference. And for me, it's been extremely helpful for Magic Mind. So if you want to decide to try it yourself, go down the link, click that link, and put in, and don't forget to put in sustainability 20 into your coupon code. Let us take 20% off. And remember, the goal of all of this is just to get better each day. We're literally just trying to find ways to improve our lives and the people around us. Little bit, big bit. Thank you so very much for listening. I'm Mike.
And I am Rob.
And we will talk to you soon.